Welcome to the Work From Home Millspo Movement podcast, a place where we are meeting military spouses where they are at and providing real solutions to military spouse employment. My name is Lauren Lonsdale, and I am a 16-year Marine Corps spouse. I'm the owner of a creative marketing firm and the instructor behind the Work From Home Millspo courses, which teach military spouses skills to become creative marketing virtual assistants. I am here to provide insight into creating and growing your work from home career, either as a military spouse creative marketing assistant, entrepreneur, or remote employee. Join us as we create a movement towards better solutions for military spouse employment, combat financial insecurities for military families, and work to increase service member retention by helping increase the betterment of military spouse and military family mental health. Gross day here in Okinawa, Japan. I have my coffee warmed up. I've got my little frozen blanket that I stole from my girls, and I am ready to talk with all of you military spouses about being a creative marketing virtual assistant over here on the Work From Home Millspo Movement podcast. Welcome to another episode. I am Lauren Lonsdale. I am the Work From Home Millspo, meeting military spouses where they are at. So a huge part of military life, of course, is PCSing, right? We all do it. We've all done it probably multiple times at this point. And it is kind of the hallmark of being a military family, moving from place to place. And part of the hardest part about being a military spouse who is career oriented or as a working military spouse is moving and finding a new job every time you move. That's one of the most common things I find in our Facebook group, the Work From Home Military Spouse. We have over 10,000 members in there. And one of the most common things that people are asking is for a remote position that they can take to any duty station. It is almost virtually impossible to find a traditional career as a military spouse that has a job that will allow you, one, to work remotely, and two, that even if you do work remotely, allows you to move it from one location to the next, especially if you move it OCONUS. So some of you newer baby military spouses might not know what OCONUS means. That means outside the continental United States. So basically anywhere not in the lower 48 states. This includes Hawaii and Alaska, but also includes obviously places like Japan, Korea, Germany, Spain, Italy, and anywhere in between. So, traditional careers, even if they're remote, most companies don't want you working overseas. And there's even some companies that don't want you working in specific states within the United States. Specifically, California and Hawaii are two big ones that companies just do not want to hire remotely because there's certain tax implications for the companies when they have people who work remotely within those states. So if you're a Marine Corps spouse, more than likely you have been to California or will be at some point, and Hawaii is also a big possibility for you. And I think that's why a lot of military spouses really try and look for these unicorn careers that allow you to move your business or move your job from one place to the next. It's really hard to find that in a traditional W-2 position. So a lot of military spouses find themselves searching for this. Oh, there's big thunder. Searching for these like unicorn type positions that allow you to move your job from one location to the next. And they kind of almost don't exist, but one does. And that's what we're talking about today here as being a creative marketing virtual assistant. And if you've listened to any other of my podcasts, or you follow me on social media, or you read my blog, anything like that, you know that I talk about being a creative marketing virtual assistant as being the chef's kiss to a career for a military spouse because it is PCS friendly. You can move it from duty station to duty station. You can even move it OCONUS. I live in Japan and I work full time in my creative marketing firm. I run a business, several actually, and I do that full time as a military spouse living overseas. I have virtual assistants that work for me that live all over the world. Here in Japan, I have clients that are in Bahrain. I have virtual assistants that are in Germany and Japan as well. We work all over the world, and we're able to do that as creative marketing virtual assistants. The biggest reason being that being a creative marketing virtual assistant works all over the world is that you generally are a 1099 contractor. A 1099 is not the same as a W-2. So there's a contractor gives you the freedom to work wherever you want and the hours you want, and you are not contractually obligated to a specific company. As a W-2, you belong to that company. You are an employee for that company. They pay part of your Social Security benefits. They pay your part of your Medicare. They pay into the typical government taxes that are required by employers to pay. But you are that company's employee, and they have certain stipulations that you have to follow as an employee. You may have to work certain hours. You may have to work in certain locations. There's certain stipulations that you have to follow as a W-2. But as a creative marketing virtual assistant, you're often a 1099, which basically means you are your own business. You can work where you want in the hours you want, as much or as little as you want, and you don't belong to anyone specifically. In fact, you can have multiple clients and you can have work for multiple virtual assistant agencies as a 1099. You could work for someone like MilSpouse Virtual Solutions, which is our VA agency under the Work From Home MilSpo. You could work for Freedom Makers and Squared Away, which are also virtual assistant agencies that are run by military spouses and military spouse hiring friendly. So being a 1099 really does give you that freedom to work as you wish. So it really does make it easy for you to move your business or move your career from one place to the next. Now, certain virtual assistant agencies may not want you to, you're working remotely for some of these VA agencies, but they may have certain stipulations that you can't work overseas. And it's their own business and that's how they run it. But being a 1099 for the most part means that you can work for whoever, whenever you want, as much as little as you want, no matter where you are located, which makes it really, really a great option for military spouses. Being a creative marketing virtual assistant really is, that was a big clap of thunder. Being a creative marketing virtual assistant, oh, my poor dogs are scared, really is one of those careers that is, like I said, the chef's kiss to being a military spouse. It's PCS friendly. It's remote. You can move it as much as wherever you want. And it really does work for military spouses. So when it actually does come time to PCS, how do you move your business? As a creative marketing virtual assistant or as a 1099, you're kind of moving yourself. You're not really moving, a business, so to speak. Even if you work for an agency, you're just moving to a new place to work. It's like moving from the kitchen to your living room or moving from your house to Starbucks to work. Only you're probably changing states, maybe changing time zones. So there are several different strategies you can take in order to make it as easy as possible to PCS while you're a creative marketing virtual assistant. So one is really communication, right? Telling your VA agency, hey, I'm PCSing. This is where I'm going. This is what's going to be happening. This is the time frame I'm going to be kind of out of pocket, and letting them know this is what you have going on. If you are working for a military spouse owned or military hiring friendly agency like MilSpouse Virtual Solutions with us over at the Work From Home MilSpo, or you're working for like Wise Advise or Squared Away, oftentimes they're going to be very understanding because they're all in the military lifestyle as well. They know what it's like to PCS, to pack up your house, to get settled in the new place. And they're going to be able to give you that time, not necessarily time off, it's not PTO or anything, but they're going to be understanding of the fact that you may not be taking new clients or you're putting your own client tasks on hold for that time being. The other thing, it's probably going to thunder here in a second, again, really loudly. The other thing to do is to communicate with your clients. So whether you're working for a VA agency or you're a freelancer, letting clients know, hey, I've got this upcoming move. This is when I expect to be out of town or out of pocket or not be as responsive. And setting those expectations of your schedule during your PCS. When we PCSed from Key West, Florida to Okinawa, Japan, I let my clients know months ahead of time. I actually had it in my signature that I was moving, and these are the dates the packers were coming, and these are the dates I expected to have little communication, meaning checking email occasionally, and these are the dates where I expected to have no communication. I'm flying, we're traveling, whatever the case may be, and this is the date I'll be back in office. And I set that up. I sent emails. I had it in my signature. I had reminders as those days got closer. I set out of office auto responses on my email to let clients know, to communicate to them, hey, I'm going to be gone for this time period. I also stopped taking clients a certain time period ahead of that. And so when we were getting ready to PCS, I stopped taking brand new clients about a month ahead of time. I stopped taking web design clients 2 months ahead of time because I wanted to make sure I was able to finish those client tasks and get my new clients set up in whatever systems and automations we had before I started the process to PCS. So all websites were completed before we left, and all new clients were set up in automatic processes or scheduled out or working with a virtual assistant on my team before I actually started the PCS process. So then when I did start the moving process, we started having our pack outs, we started traveling and doing all those things. I already had those systems in place. My clients already knew I was going to be gone, that I was going to be out of pocket, that I may not be responsive. I had a secondary virtual assistant, my personal assistant. Her name is Kayla. She was helping me take care of any emergency tasks that might come up when I wasn't available. For the most part, I was still available over email, or I could stop and take 30 minutes to do something quick if there was something, something broke on a website or there was something dire that I needed to work on for a client. But otherwise, Kayla really could take care of it. Luckily, nothing really happened and we were, everything was fine. But we had social content scheduled out. We had emails scheduled out. We had, my clients had contact with certain virtual assistants that could help them with specific tasks. And I trained, did tutorial videos for all the VAs that were taking on client tasks while I was gone on how to do it, if a client needed help with anything. So I really had all of these systems set in place. So not only communicating to my clients ahead of time, this is when I'm going to be gone, and sending those reminders and stopping, setting boundaries with my own self, not taking clients when I knew I wasn't going to be able to effectively finish a project or work on a project before I got ready to PCS. I had the communication, I had those boundaries with myself and my business. And then I also had systems set in place with my virtual assistants and with automations like social media scheduling, email marketing automations set up. So I didn't even have to worry about it. Things were being handled without me being directly involved. So then I was able to take that time off. And then once I got back, or not back, but once I got settled in Japan, I was able to start investing in my clients again, taking new clients, getting back into the swing of regular work stuff. And we just kind of picked up where we left off. And it wasn't too much of a transition. I mean, we have the time difference transition, but other than that, it was really business as usual and has continued to be business as usual because I really was not moving anything but myself. I was just changing locations where I worked, and that was pretty much it. And that's because at the time I was what's called self-proprietor. So self-proprietor is a business structure. This is basically means tax-wise, you are not any different. Your income is not any different than your personal income. So business income is not separated from personal income. It all goes into one place. As a 1099 contractor, there are some tax things that you need to be aware of, which I highly recommend. If you are, I highly recommend you talking to an accountant or a CPA or a tax expert. We do have a tax expert in our work from home Millspo Movement Elite Marketing Masterclass, or Elite Virtual Assistant Marketing, Virtual Marketing Assistant Masterclass. Sorry, lots of words. We do have a military spouse CPA who comes in and talks about your tax implications. And we also have a business formation lawyer, also a military spouse, who talks about how to set up your business as a freelancing creative marketing virtual assistant, and talks about how to, move your businesses tax-wise, business formation-wise. But as a self-proprietor, you are your business. You're basically doing business as you. And so really you're just moving yourself. You're not changing states. You're not changing business titles. None of that applies to you because it's just you. Like I said, there are some tax things that you want to keep in mind, which I recommend talking to a CPA. Things like, you're paying your own self-employment tax, which can be pretty hefty. You have to pay into Social Security and Medicare. There's certain forms you have to fill out as a 1099 self-proprietor, self-employed person. But that's kind of a whole different episode that we would dive into that because it's a lot of details. If you decide to start a official business as a marketing virtual assistant and you get an LLC and a business name and all of those things, there's a few additional things that you have to consider and think about when that's the case. So some of those things include, if you are an LLC, and let's say you live in Florida and you have an LLC in Florida, when you move your business, your LLC either has to stay in Florida or you have to, what's it called? No, the word just escaped my mind. Hold on. Dissolve. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. You have to dissolve your business in Florida and then reestablish it in the new state. So you don't have to do that every time. So there's two different ways you can do that if you are an LLC. If you have an LLC business and you have established it in Florida and then you move to California, you can, one option is to keep your LLC in Florida, which you may want to do depending on the state. You're going to want to check what the tax. My dog wants to go out, which she's crazy. She doesn't realize how hard it's raining. The taxes are different in every state. Some states take personal income tax, some don't. So you're going to want to check what's best for your business. But let's say you have an LLC in Florida, you're PCSing to California. You can keep your LLC in Florida and then do what's called a foreign entity in California. Now, that's not always necessary because you are a completely virtual business. You may not need to establish yourself in California because you're not working just for people who live in California. Your services are not just in California or just in Florida. Your services branch to people quite literally all over the world. So you really could have your business established in a state and then just move, and you're just working remotely with your business being established in that former state. So let's say Florida, but you're working remotely while your business is in Florida. You're working remotely in California. You don't really have to do anything different. It is crazy thundering. Oh my gosh, I wonder if you guys can hear that. So you can do it that way. Or if you really do want to establish a new business, a new LLC in your new state. So let's say you move to Washington State, which Washington State has no personal income tax. So let's say you're moving from Virginia to Washington State. Virginia does have personal income tax. So if you move to Washington State, you might say, oh, well, Washington's kind of better to have my business in. I'm going to dissolve my business in Virginia and reestablish it in Washington. And you can do that. You can dissolve your business in Virginia, get to Washington State, re-register your business in Washington State, do all the stuff that Washington State requires for an LLC, and you're good to go. So there's several different ways to do it. But the beauty of being a creative marketing virtual assistant and kind of working as a 1099, so to speak, for all of these different companies, even whether you're a self-proprietor or have an LLC, is that you don't have to necessarily reestablish your business every time you move. When you have a product-based business, like you're selling t-shirts, you have to reestablish your business because you're shipping from those different states. You're not working remotely in a virtual setting. So you have to either dissolve your business or reestablish, or dissolve and reestablish, or establish as a foreign entity in the new state. But when you work completely virtually like this, you really are working remotely from your original business. So I started off as self-proprietor, and I have been up until this year. This year, we established a formal LLC in the state of Wyoming, which we are not residents of, and you can do in Wyoming because Wyoming has some really good tax laws for small businesses. So Wyoming and Delaware are two of the most popular states to establish businesses. Our business is technically established in Wyoming. And so we have our business, our LLC, through the state of Wyoming, and I am technically working remotely as I'm an S Corp, so I'm an employee of my own business, but I'm working remotely as an employee of my business, which is established in Wyoming. If I was still self-proprietor, still would work the same way. My business would be in Wyoming. That's where my business is established. Woo! My dogs are freaking out. Come here, Sachi. Come here. It's okay. They're so scared. It's okay. Sure. I would still have my business in Wyoming, and then I would just be working remotely as myself here in Okinawa. So it's not super hard to move yourself as a creative marketing virtual assistant. Even if you work for an agency, like I said, as long as the agency doesn't have any stipulations of what state or country you can work in, you're literally just moving to a new location to work. You're still working remotely, you're just working in that different space. And for an agency, if you're a 1099, they don't have to worry about paying you taxes within the state that you're in because you're handling your own taxes. So they don't have to worry about, oh, you're living in California now. We can't pay you in California because of the California laws against, or not against, but the laws surrounding being a 1099 in California. They don't have to worry about that. It's only if you're a W-2. So if you're a W-2, then they have to figure out if that makes sense for their business to pay taxes within that state or how that works. But for you as a 1099, you really are just moving yourself from one place to the next, from Starbucks to your house, from California to Washington State, wherever you happen to be going. So this is kind of a shorter episode, but that's because it's kind of simple to be a creative marketing virtual assistant when it comes to PCSing your business. And that is the absolute beauty of being a creative marketing virtual assistant, is that you can move it from one place to the next. You can move it from duty station to duty station. You can move it from Florida to Japan, which is exactly what we did, moving from Key West to Okinawa. You can take this career with you. You don't have to find a new job when you move. You don't have to quit your job and find a new one. You don't have to ask your employer if you can live in the next, if you can still have your job when you move to the next place. You don't have to do any of that. You just talk to your clients, you talk to your agency that you work for, say, hey, this is where I'm going to be, and I'm taking some time off to PCS. I will be back on this date to be working full time. And that's it. It's so amazing, the flexibility you have as a creative marketing virtual assistant, which is why I find it to be the absolute best possible option for military spouses, with its flexibility in PCSing, flexibility in hours, no childcare needed, which you can see my kids are here walking around, working remotely from home all the time. I'm in an MWR t-shirt and leggings, sitting in my dining space at my office desk, working with my family home, being around my kids, and having the opportunity to be mom, military spouse, and business owner. And it's such a great option for military spouses. So if you're only listening to this podcast, my middle daughter came to give me a hug. So if you're watching, you can see her with her unbrushed hair and bedhead. Thank you. Okay, now right now. Thank you very much. But it really is an amazing opportunity if this is something you guys are interested in. If you're not really sure what a creative marketing virtual assistant even is, I encourage you to join us for our 4 days to become a VA masterclass, which is going on here in a couple of weeks. If you are listening to this episode and the masterclass is closed right now, that's okay. You can go head over to our website, theworkfromhomemilspo.com, thewfhmilspo.com, and learn all about what it is to be a creative marketing virtual assistant, see our different membership options, and maybe even just join our membership for a month if it's open right now. Our membership closes every 3 months or so to kind of just be able to invest in our new students and coach them through their journey to become a creative marketing virtual assistant. But if it's open right now, you can join our membership, and it's $30 for a month. And you just see if this is something you really want to do, and start taking the course, see if you enjoy it, and join us over there and really see how this can be such a life-changing opportunity for yourself. You also can join over, if you go over to course.theworkfromhomemilspo, you will see we have a free webinar about being a creative marketing virtual assistant. This is a webinar that I did. It's about an hour long, and it goes over all the different aspects of being a creative marketing virtual assistant, what that is, what that means. We also have episode 2 and 3, I think, talk about what it is to be a creative marketing virtual assistant, why businesses need a virtual assistant, and why it's perfect for being a military spouse, and how to get hired as a creative marketing virtual assistant. So I encourage you to take a listen or a look at all these different options. Everything will be in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. We have links to the website, links to the courses, or to the memberships, links to our free webinars, and definitely check out our previous episodes to see what it's like to be a creative marketing virtual assistant and how this can work for you as a military spouse. Thank you so much for joining me with another episode of the Work From Home Milspo Movement podcast. My name is Lauren Lonsdale. I am the Work From Home Milspo, meeting military spouses where they're at. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope we gave you some valuable insight into your work from home career as a military spouse. If you haven't already, we hope you join us over at the Work From Home Milspo membership, where you will learn the skills to become a creative marketing virtual assistant, as well as have the ongoing support of military spouses just like you, live trainings from me, and resources to use for yourself or your clients. Visit us at thewfhmilspo.com, as well as our virtual assistant agency made just for students, milspovirtualsolutions.com, and give me a follow on Instagram and TikTok to get more daily tips and information on remote work for military spouses. My name is Lauren Lonsdale, and I'm